This is Tech Me As I Am, a video series and podcast where self-love is shaking up the status quo of corporate America. We're diving into authentic stories that are creating space for you to feel seen, be vulnerable, and succeed working in the everyday. So let's be real, let's be different, and let's get courageous, y'all.
Hi, I'm Elliotte Dunlap. I'm speaking with Britt today. I am all about intentional excellence. I look forward to giving you seeds that you don't throw on concrete, that you throw in the soil, that we can grow and learn together. So let's get it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm Brittany Mack, your host, and we have a phenomenal episode in store for you all today. I have an amazing guest, Elliotte Dunlap from Microsoft, who's going to be talking to us about leadership beyond the badge. Elliotte, I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us today.
This is awesome, Brittany, what you put together. And I'm happy to be here, and hopefully we'll share and learn together.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. First off, I want to start off by saying, tell us a little bit about why you've made the moves that you've made today, where you've come from, where you're at, what your story is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bore you with all the horror film part of it, but I will say that, having people invest in you is a real big piece of why I'm here today and why I do what I do. I had nothing but women invest in me. I had some great leaders from LaShonda Anderson-Williams to Bev Wright to some others. And, I have great mentors at Microsoft and sponsors, and we'll get into that. But the reality of it is that I've been able to recognize the moment. And one of the best things I ever learned at my job at IBM was be smart, be brief, and be gone. And that's been the catalyst to my success.
Okay. Tell me about that. What you mean, be smart, be brief, and be gone? What's that about?
Well, there has been, it took a lot of years, and I've had some great people put some polish, on those rough edges. But being smart, meaning understanding your business, whether it's in the community or whether it's professionally, being brief, understanding how to synthesize and really provide clarity on what direction of leadership or what you're supposed to do, and be gone, meaning understand when it's time to pack up and leave or when it's time to be quiet or silent. Those are excellent caveats to my success.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to jump into when we think about humanizing the leader. Oftentimes when we're in these corporate spaces, I feel like there's like this facade of, people just pretending to be this, image for people just to get somewhere in life. And I think, one of the things that I really personally benefited from was seeing your authenticity in the workplace and just how you shared your story. So I wanted to have you kind of talk to us a little bit about defining a little bit of the moments of success that have allowed you to be an authentic leader, to humanize that leadership and allow people to feel like they can, be you one day or, strive to walk in your footsteps.
No, I mean, authenticity, and a lot of my mentees will laugh. They'll be like, yeah, let's talking about. But I think there's so many avenues that people talk about authenticity. I do think that there is a earned right to authenticity. I think that, the reason I'm able to be who I am now is that I've had proven capabilities that help me leverage that authentic piece of me, right? But without those proven capabilities, you really can't leverage that authenticity to the full quota. And I tell people this every day. If Elliotte brought his 100% authentic self to the job, I'd probably be gone in about 5 minutes. So you have to have a balance of what that authenticity is compared to the culture that you work in. And I think that's where you're smart. I mean, there are a lot of different avenues of, I wanted to always be a person that can be approached, whether it's in the community or whether it's at the job. I want to make sure I know everybody from the time you walk in front desk to whoever's the highest ranking person in the building. And I've always believed in treating people fairly and with that dignity and with respect. And I think that's where your true self come out. That's where people want to kind of run through walls for you. So that's been big.
Okay. And to kind of piggyback off of that, I know we had talked about when we had our little kind of meetup before we came to this episode to like talk about things. But we had talked about allyship not being 100%, and that there's going to be mistakes and needs to have psychological safety in order to thrive. I want to expand on that a little bit more in terms of like what allyship is, what that means, what that looks like, so that people can understand how to identify that for themselves in the workplace.
You know, it's funny. You talked about the piece that I did for ABC and around 2020, and allyship is crucial. I think there's all different ways we can be an ally to each other. I think the first way is to have an unconscious bias, and that's a really, really big part of it. But understanding that we're all perfectionists and we all want to do things 100% and be our best. Well, when it's allyship, you're not going to be your best. You're going to make some trips and falls. You're going to make some mistakes. I have a group at Microsoft that I mentor called the Inner Circle, and they're a couple of generations behind me. And understanding authenticity, understanding allyship, because there are different belief systems and thought processes and lifestyles that are within this group. And one of the things that I have had to grow and learn is that I'm going to make a mistake. I got to ask, and I always tell them this may be a dumb question, or this may be a question that's uncomfortable, but I need to know, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? For instance, I would get on the phone and say, hey guys, let's do this. And one of my mentees said, hey, there's more than guys on the phone. Mm-hmm. So understanding, I need to learn that. I need to be cognizant of that instead of saying, hey guys, something as simple as that, and saying, hey all, or let's go, or, being able to express that was important. So it's growth. But allyship is not 100%. Let's get that through our head. It is not 100%. You're going to make mistakes, but it is important for that person that you're trying to be an ally to respect that we're starting at ground zero and provide that safe space of correction.
Right.
Because that's huge.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I think what you really pointed out there is, it's not 100%. And, because we're not 100%. I think we always try to create this facade that we have it all together. We know everything. I think that's something that also in the workplace, people try to create this fake it till you make it kind of thing. Yeah. And that just really gets under my skin every time people say that type of stuff, because I'm like, you're not perfect. There's no way you know everything. There's no way you know everything. And, when you're coming to the table and being a vulnerable ally in your instance and saying, hey, it's not 100%, help me where I'm at right now so that I can be a better ally. I can show up as a better version and grow every day. I think that also indicates the type of leader that you are, but also allows people to understand it's not going to be 100, and stop trying to kind of romanticize it in that way so people can show up better. So I think that that really helps out a lot. And it also helps me even thinking about how I want to show up for allyship for others as well. So thank you for sharing that.
No, thank you.
All right. So talk to us a little bit about what are some of the passions that you have outside of work that you think help you show up in being the person that you are today?
What I learned, one of my mentors, Bev Wright, told me about leadership doubtless. And it took me a couple of times for it to resonate that being a part of the chambers of being part of that community in leadership Dallas with the Chambers Leadership Program was valuable in looking at the world from other people's eyes, right? But outside, I went to the University of North Texas. I majored in mass communications, minored in Spanish and history. I was one of the founders of the Multicultural Center that is now dissolved in the state of Texas for various government reasons. But what I learned was that I can continue to go up the corporate ladder, but my outside passion and commitment to community became just as important as my corporate climb. So I talked to a lot of my sponsors within Microsoft, Judson and some others that had put stock in me. And I learned that this younger generation, especially the young men, we're going to be lost. I felt like the diverse men, because we weren't able to be, we weren't adjusting to what the climate was and what the corporate brand needed to be, was not there. So I started a mentorship at the University of North Texas called Few Good Men and Women, because we have women that started coming and raising their hand to come and get this knowledge. And we focused on internships to jobs, because I think that colleges give you the knowledge, but they don't tell us, Brittany, how to go compete when you're one of 1,000 or one of 100 competing for a job over teams, right? And you're on a video call and you're trying to sell yourself very quickly, succinctly, and show impact. And so that's become a passion of mine when you mention that, is really, how do we elevate the early in career? How do we get them to think about not just graduating at 22 and think about 30, but what does 40 look like? And then how do we beat that retirement of 65? That has been my passion outside. So I do a lot of community work. The hope is that I can start, being an adjunct professor somewhere and teaching this experience and excellence throughout. Right.
That's amazing. And I think that, when we think about community, I remember us talking about this, building your career and your passion outside of the workplace as well is very critical. A lot of people feel like, when I'm at my job, this is where all my focus needs to go into. And it also creates this space of not having leverage for your own career, because you're not creating relationships outside of the walls in which you work. And I think also when it comes to community and pouring back into the communities, we don't really, I don't know. Every time I think about like pouring into communities, sometimes I'll see like outreach and nonprofit work, but like, how much are we really going in to let people see from all diverse spaces that this is something that's attainable, reachable, something that is realistic, that they can touch? Because oftentimes people don't really feel like they can be something if they don't see somebody in front of them on the ground doing the work. And so I value the fact that you said that in terms of having a passion outside of the walls in which you work, and really latching into the cities and the organizations that are outside of the walls of the company. So
no, absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that. So talk to me a little bit of the defining definitions for you of what a mentor, a sponsor is, as a resource, as a whole.
Yeah. So, I think you asked me in the beginning, how did I get to be successful? And it was really people pouring into me. And I think that's valuable, and it's going to become more and more prevalent of success, of how many people that you have in your corner. I think creating a personal board of directors is important for longevity in this corporate life, of having people not just at your company on your personal board of directors. It could be a pastor, it could be a friend, it could be work people, but having people to go to. So let's talk about that. I know I want to speed up. So I think there's 3 different types of things. There's a resource, a mentor, and a sponsor. I think a resource is somebody that you can go to that says, hey, how do I do this? Or do you have some notes on this? Or what's an easier way of being? That person provides a resource for you. A mentor is somebody that has your best interest, that they're going to guide you. They're going to answer questions. They're going to be there when you need them to be there. They're going to guide you through career or a personal life. And that sponsor is somebody that is going to speak for you when you're not in a room. So let's put an analogy to this. Let's say, Brittany, you and you wanted to go buy a car. If I'm your resource, you'd call me and say, hey, Elliotte, I want to buy a car. My question to you would be, okay, cool. You're going to buy it in Dallas, San Antonio. How much you going to pay for it? What's your monthly payment? What kind of car is it? SUV? Is it a sports car? As a resource, I'm going to ask you that. Then I'm going to provide you with, here's where you go. Hey, I got to, hey, go check that area out. I heard they give good car deals there. If I was a mentor and you asked me that, I would do all those things as a mentor, but I would also say, hey, go over there and see Bob or Balin or Terry at this dealership. And if you want an SUV, I think that these 3 dealerships, this particular car has the best safety features. I'm going to have your best interest. I'm going to send you somewhere that I have history with. So you go buy a car, you sit down, a mentor is going to go to the dealership with you. They're going to drive the car with you. They're going to test drive it. They're going to even come in there and negotiate the deal for you, right? With you. They're going to ask you questions. But when you get ready to walk in that finance office, that mentor is going to wait for you in the customer waiting area. If it was a sponsor, that sponsor would do all those things. But when you go in that finance office, that sponsor has already made that call that says, hey, if Brittany doesn't get financed, I got her back. I got her cosign, right? They're talking. You don't even know what's happening. You walk in there and they say, hey, Brittany, you're good. We got your financing and go. And that's the difference. I think we all strive to get sponsorship, whether it be corporate or community. But that's what you want, is that person or those individuals talking about you in the back room having a conversation that proves to your benefit.
That's some powerful stuff you just said. And I don't think I've ever heard it really articulated in that way in terms of resources, a sponsor, a mentor. And I think what's really applicable to what you said is, how to define the different ways of having that person there. And I know when people go to look to have a sponsor, it's really difficult for them to try to get somebody to want to put their name on something. Hell, if I wanted to have my mom put her name on a car, she's like, Brittany, what? I ain't put my name on no car. But I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I've proven this, I've done this. I'm like, you can't even get family to show up in that way sometimes. To co-sign for you.
Yeah.
So what would you say are good ways for people to think about having someone be willing to be a sponsor? Or even in the case of like you being a sponsor for someone, what do you look for to feel comfortable to sponsor someone?
I think it's time. I think you can't just walk up and ask somebody to be a sponsor. I preach intentional excellence. Even on my LinkedIn, it's hashtag intentional excellence, and we can dive into that later. But you want to show a proven track record. Sponsorship is gained through relationship, is gained through impact. So you can't just, when somebody becomes your sponsor, you really don't know they're your sponsor, right? Until that moment happens. Until somebody comes to you and says, hey, I talked to Elliotte, Brittany, and he said you were good for this job. I'd like to interview you. A lot of times sponsorship happens like that. I don't think anybody comes out and says, hey, I'm your sponsor. What do you got to do? Right? But I do think that people say, hey, I'm your mentor.
Right.
Or, hey, I'm a resource for you. But those sponsors are in rooms you can't get to. It's like, I used to have a condo at the W, and there was a floor that didn't have a button to it. And the only way you got to that floor is if somebody got you to that floor. Right? If you were on the elevator with somebody and they put their card up there and you got to that floor, or you were on that floor. So you always need somebody to be able to put that card in the elevator to take you to that hidden floor that you don't know about.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, ride with me, Brittany. Let's go up to the top floor. Want to be able to show you Dallas. Not many people get to see this. But you wouldn't know that if you wasn't in the elevator, if that person didn't feel safe, and if that person didn't understand your impact.
Yeah, that was powerful.
I know it's like parable and analogy day today.
No, that was good though. That was really good. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to thank you for joining us today. I did have one rapid fire question I want to save time for to make sure we have our guests hear a little bit or understand a little bit about what it is that you have going on. In terms of two things actually I want to do too. One, what books are you reading right now, or what book would you recommend someone to read to kind of get their head in the right headspace to be on a journey?
So one of the best books I've read is Purpose Driven Life. And I think that in that book, the first part of that starts with, it's not about you. But my favorite book is The 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
And I love that book. Okay. And there's a couple of reasons to why, but I have a couple of favorites, Rule Number 21 and some others, but I think that's an awesome book in my mind.
Okay. And the last question is, what is your go-to song when you're jamming out in the car? You have a go-to song?
Yes, my favorite rapper is Biggie,
Okay.
and Warning is my favorite song.
Okay.
I love Warning. But my hype song is Eminem Lose It.
Okay.
When I listen, if you listen to those lyrics where you got that one shot to get it right, you put yourself under that pressure to get out there and make it happen. I really love that song.
Okay.
There's a couple of favorites, but I had to throw my
Yeah, hey, look, I get it.
And I'm from the West Coast. Don't hate on me. I know. I'm from the West Coast, but Biggie's my man.
Okay. Well,
I know a lot of people gonna be like, oh, he's
hey, it's all right. It's all good. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us today. And I'm really looking forward to sharing my story and sharing his story with you all today. So thank you.
awesome sauce. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.